Beneath the rolling hills of China's Shaanxi province lies a mystery so deep, so ominous, that even time dares not touch it. Hidden under layers of soil and shadow, there exists an ancient tomb whose very presence defies the living. It is said to be cursed, not with myth or superstition alone, but with a grim warning carved in stone. He who opens it shall die. This is not a tale of phantoms or folklore. This is a real story, buried beneath centuries of secrecy and sealed by fear. The tomb, believed to date back to the early dynasties of ancient China, is one of the most mysterious and foreboding sights in archaeological history. Its location, rumored to be just miles from the famed Terracotta Army, has been veiled in silence, out of both reverence and terror. But what makes this burial site so unique? Why has it remained untouched for so long, despite whispers of unimaginable treasure within its walls? And what could possibly be so dangerous about a tomb that generations have chosen to leave it undisturbed? To understand the gravity of this cursed site, we must first go back in time, to an age when emperors ruled with divine right, and death was not the end, but merely a passage to a grander existence. These rulers believed in the afterlife with absolute certainty. Their tombs were not simple resting places. They were empires in miniature, stocked with gold, jade, sacrificial offerings, and even the remains of those who were buried alive to serve them in death. The most infamous of these tombs is, of course, that of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of unified China. Discovered in 1974, the site revealed the legendary Terracotta Army, a vast collection of clay soldiers guarding the emperor's eternal realm. Yet, as grand as that discovery was, Qin Shi Huang's actual tomb remains untouched to this day. Why? Because ancient texts and modern fears speak of traps, rivers of mercury, and, most notably, a death curse inscribed upon its hidden entrance. Some believe the cursed tomb we speak of today may be Qin Shi Huang's very own burial chamber. Others argue it is an entirely different tomb, older, deeper, and far more dangerous. What they agree on is this: the warning is no hoax. The inscription was first mentioned in documents found during the Qing dynasty, when a group of scholars attempting to locate forgotten imperial burial grounds stumbled upon an entrance carved into a rocky hillside. The inscription, etched in ancient script, simply read, "Whoever disturbs this sacred place shall bring death upon himself and his bloodline." The scholars, reportedly chilled by the discovery, left it untouched. Local villagers began whispering about unnatural deaths, accidents, illnesses, mysterious disappearances, surrounding those who dared approach the tomb. In the years that followed, rumors grew. Some said that treasure hunters who tried to dig near the site died within days. Others claimed that their families were cursed for generations. Tales of shadows moving within the earth and sudden cold winds in the summer gave the tomb an air of terror so powerful that even government-led expeditions hesitated to investigate. Modern scientists have confirmed that high levels of mercury exist in the soil surrounding the site, just as ancient texts described. Could this be a natural deterrent, a biological trap set by the ancients? Or is it part of the elaborate security system designed to preserve what lies inside? Many believe the warning was no idle threat. Ancient Chinese engineering was far ahead of its time. It's well documented that booby traps, pressure-triggered weapons, and poisonous gas mechanisms were embedded in elite burial sites. For those guarding royal secrets, death was a preferable alternative to discovery. But the question remains, why did they go to such lengths? What were they hiding? This tomb, whose precise name has been lost to time, is believed to hold secrets that could change our understanding of ancient China forever. Some scholars argue it could contain original scrolls from the early dynasties, maps of lost cities, or even evidence of forgotten dynasties erased from history. Others believe it hides relics not of this world, fragments of meteorite, advanced metallurgy, or even technologies not yet understood by today's standards. Still, the fear remains stronger than the curiosity. To this day, Chinese officials have cited preservation concerns, toxic dangers, and cultural respect as reasons for keeping the tomb sealed. But those who delve into the world of the forbidden know better. It is not science or conservation that holds the world back from prying open this grave. It is fear, raw, ancient, and unrelenting. And this is just the beginning. In the next chapter, We journey into the historical depths of tomb construction during China's imperial era and uncover just how far the ancient Chinese went to protect the dead from the living. To truly grasp the magnitude of the tomb that bears the deadly warning, "He who opens it shall die," we must understand the ancient Chinese philosophy of death and the empire that lay beyond it. For the rulers of ancient China, death was not a conclusion. It was a continuation, an eternal dominion that demanded the same grandeur and obedience they commanded in life. The tombs of Chinese emperors weren't mere burial chambers. They were sprawling necropolises, entire underground cities designed to mimic the imperial court in full. Every detail, every corridor, every hidden trapdoor was meticulously planned. These were not just final resting places. They were palaces meant to serve emperors in the afterlife, where death was merely another realm of sovereignty. It all began with the Zhou dynasty nearly 3,000 years ago. Rulers were buried with bronze vessels, jade ornaments, and ritual weapons. But as time progressed, especially during the Qin and Han dynasties, tombs evolved into labyrinthine fortresses filled with unimaginable wealth and guarded by lethal secrecy. One of the best-known examples is, of course, the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. Constructed over 38 years by more than 700,000 laborers, the project was cloaked in absolute secrecy. According to Sima Qian, a historian of the Han dynasty, the emperor's tomb contained palaces and scenic towers for 100 officials, rare artifacts, and mechanical crossbows rigged to fire upon intruders. But most ominously, Sima Qian wrote of rivers and seas of mercury flowing mechanically, designed to represent the celestial bodies and the world beyond. This chilling detail was long considered legend, until modern geological surveys confirmed abnormally high levels of mercury in the soil around the suspected tomb site. This discovery raises a critical question. Were these traps simply symbolic, or were they real, functioning death mechanisms designed to slay any who trespassed? Let us consider the cultural mindset of the time. For ancient Chinese rulers, death required meticulous planning. The tomb wasn't built just to bury the dead. It was to protect what they took with them. If emperors believed they'd rule in the next life, then everything they needed, armor, weapons, treasures, attendants, entertainers, and even concubines, had to follow them. Tragically, in some dynasties, these attendants were buried alive or poisoned to accompany the emperor. And so, the tomb became a paradox, a place of lavish beauty and cold cruelty. Entire chambers were lined with terracotta warriors, not just to serve, but to guard. Floors were rigged to collapse. Entry points were hidden behind false walls. Scholars believe that the curse inscribed at the Forbidden Tomb was not meant merely as a poetic warning. It was part of a larger security system built on psychological terror, practical danger, and religious power. Moreover, the placement of these tombs was guided by feng shui, an ancient system of geomancy. Emperors would consult star maps, earth energy lines, and mystical advisors to find the perfect alignment of heaven and earth. If the tomb was misaligned, they believed, the spirit would wander eternally, angry, restless, and dangerous. This intense preparation reveals why a curse might have been placed on the tomb. It wasn't just a deterrent. It was a vow. The emperor was declaring that his empire, even in death, was not to be disturbed, on pain of death. And history has shown that disturbing such tombs has rarely ended well. During the Cultural Revolution in the 1960s and 70s, several ancient tombs were defaced in the name of political progress. But those who participated often suffered misfortunes. Tales of madness, accidents, and inexplicable illness swept through towns. Entire excavation teams were plagued by inexplicable events. Freak storms, sudden cave-ins, and strange hallucinations that witnesses still speak of in hushed tones. Whether these are coincidences or the result of psychological suggestion is still debated. But one thing is certain. China's ancient tombs are more than burial sites. They are vaults of legacy, power, and fear. Now consider this. If tombs without curses have wrought such consequences, what of one that explicitly warns of death? The presence of this carved warning suggests a level of deliberate psychological warfare, a final defense to guard the tomb against not only the sword, but against the mind, a message designed to echo through generations. Stay away. This is not for the living. But what if someone ignored the warning? What if someone dared to defy the emperor's last decree? In the next segment, we unravel the legends of those who did. Treasure hunters, scholars, and soldiers, all drawn by greed, curiosity, or duty, and the eerie fate that followed them. Over centuries, the tomb sat undisturbed, hidden beneath layers of secrecy, superstition, and time. Yet not all were content to let it rest. The promise of gold, jade, and ancient secrets lured many toward the cursed site, and history, both oral and written, records what happened to those who dared to trespass. They came in different forms: grave robbers, rogue archaeologists, even military scouts during times of war. Most did not live to tell the tale. Others lived, but only long enough to warn others never to repeat their mistake. Our first tale comes from the late 19th century, when a group of treasure hunters led by a man named Zhao Yang claimed they had deciphered an old map passed down from a Qing dynasty noble family. The map, marked with cryptic symbols and imperial seals, was said to lead directly to a tomb nestled near Mount Li, the same region where the terracotta army was discovered decades later. Zhao and his group, 7 in total, disappeared for over a week after venturing into the area. Only one returned. The survivor, a man named Ringue, was found weeks later wandering in a nearby village, severely malnourished and incoherent. He kept muttering phrases in broken Mandarin. Walls moved, no way out, and most disturbingly, they're still down there, screaming. He died within days of being found, with his cause of death officially listed as neurological shock. The rest of the group was never recovered. A local monk, known for chronicling strange events, wrote in his diary that villagers had long warned outsiders to stay away from the hill that hums, a place where strange vibrations could be felt to the ground on quiet nights. Some claimed to see flickering lights from beneath the earth. Others reported hearing whispers carried on the wind. These accounts were dismissed by skeptics, but the pattern was only beginning. In the 1930s, during the chaos of the Second Sino-Japanese War, Japanese troops reportedly uncovered what they believed to be a royal tomb while conducting excavations in the same region. Their goal was to seize valuable artifacts and send them back to Japan. They brought modern drilling equipment, protective suits, and heavy weaponry. What happened next is the stuff of legend and government silence. According to a declassified report unearthed decades later, the excavation team halted operations within 48 hours. Multiple soldiers fell ill with violent convulsions. 2 engineers died on site. A surviving officer wrote that the air turned black and the ground screamed beneath our boots. High command ordered the tomb resealed, and the area declared off-limits. To this day, Japanese officials have never acknowledged the incident, but Chinese historians have cited the event as further evidence that the tomb was actively defended by forces unknown. Then there's the case of Professor Wei Jian, a respected archaeologist from Beijing University, who in 1954 proposed a formal excavation of the site, arguing that the tomb could hold important records lost to history. He received initial government approval, but the plan was abruptly canceled after 2 of his graduate assistants died in an unrelated excavation collapse within a week of the proposal. Wei Jian resigned from his university post shortly after. He never published again. In a private interview later transcribed by one of his students, he admitted, "I do not believe in curses. I believe in engineering. But something down there was built not just to protect the tomb, but to punish curiosity." In every story, a pattern emerges. Intrusions are met with violence, sickness, psychological trauma, or death. But perhaps the most disturbing accounts come from local villagers, those who've lived near the tomb's shadow for generations. They speak of dream visitations from a man in a robe of gold, warning them not to allow strangers near the hill. One family claimed their crops failed for 3 consecutive years after allowing tourists to camp near the tomb's presumed entrance. Another tells of a child born with no eyes shortly after a father led a group of foreigners to the site. Coincidence? Mass hysteria? Or something far more ancient and intentional? It's important to understand that ancient Chinese culture was rooted in the concept of ancestral reverence. To violate a tomb was to desecrate the very soul of a lineage. The placement of curses wasn't just superstition. It was sacred law. The warning on this tomb, etched in stone, may have been the final decree of a dying emperor in order to defend his realm long after breath had left his body, and so the tomb remained sealed, not by law, but by legacy. But what exactly lies within that stone chamber beneath the earth? What was so precious or dangerous that it required a curse? In our next segment, we descend into speculation, science, and ancient documents to explore what might be hidden inside China's most feared tomb. If you were to stand at the edge of the hill that locals dare not name, looking down into the earth where legends say a deadly tomb sleeps, what would you imagine lies beneath? Jewels, perhaps. Ancient scrolls filled with imperial secrets. Or something far more dangerous, lost knowledge that was never meant to see the light of day. This is enduring mystery surrounding the cursed tomb, the ancient resting place said to be inscribed with a chilling warning. He who opens it shall die. It's a simple message, yet it has kept generations at bay. But it begs the question, what exactly is being protected so fiercely? In traditional Chinese tombs, particularly those built for emperors or powerful warlords, the contents often mirror the magnificence of their earthly lives. Based on excavations from similar dynastic sites, historians and archaeologists have formed educated guesses about what might lie within this one. Let's start with the expected. The treasures. An emperor's tomb was, by all accounts, a subterranean kingdom. Gold and silver vessels, ceremonial swords inlaid with jade and turquoise, silken robes, lacquerware, and musical instruments were standard offerings. In some cases, life-size sculptures of servants, horses, dancers, and even entire banquets were crafted in clay or bronze to serve the ruler beyond death. But what sets this tomb apart, what elevates its legend, is the ominous warning. No ordinary tomb carries such a threat, and so scholars speculate that its contents may include far more than treasure. One theory suggests the tomb may hide a forbidden text, perhaps a lost volume of ancient Taoist or alchemical knowledge, teachings that could destabilize belief systems or even contain instructions for manipulating nature itself. Some fringe theorists have gone further, claiming the tomb might be guarding a weapon, one conceived by ancient minds who mastered chemistry or rudimentary explosives centuries before their time. As wild as that may sound, history has precedent. During the Han Dynasty, inventors created early flamethrowers and toxic smoke bombs. In some tombs, archaeologists have discovered mercury traps, designed to poison intruders upon entry. In others, doors were rigged with mechanical darts and collapsing stone ceilings. If such defenses existed 2,000 years ago, imagine what might have been set in place for a tomb this well protected and this feared. Let us consider the most chilling possibility. The tomb is not meant to be opened because of what it contains, or what it contains might not be entirely dead. Chinese folklore is rich with stories of spirits that cling to the physical world, guardians that linger to defend a legacy, and objects so cursed they warp the minds of those who find them. The warning may be more than a metaphor. It could be a literal safeguard, not against physical harm, but against spiritual infection. Taoist burial texts sometimes mention the gui, restless ghosts who punish disrespectful intruders. In rare cases, protective deities known as Jinchen were invoked during burial ceremonies, summoned to bind evil and keep tomb robbers at bay. If this tomb's occupant had enemies in life, or practiced forbidden rituals, they may have included safeguards beyond the physical. Ritual talismans, curse seals, or sacred runes might lie in wait, ready to unleash their wrath upon the curious. And yet, some say the curse isn't about what's inside the tomb, but who it once belonged to. Fragments of forgotten record found in the Song Dynasty archives speak of an imperial general whose conquests were so brutal. The court erased him from history. His name was forbidden to be spoken. He commanded an army that slaughtered entire villages, then vanished into mountains after betraying the emperor. His final resting place, according to the tale, was sealed by those loyal to the throne, who etched the warning as both a curse and a confession. Whether this is the true identity of the tomb's owner remains uncertain. But the pattern fits. Unmarked, unrecorded, but unforgotten. A site of terror wrapped in wealth and silence. Could it be that the tomb is not cursed because of what it holds, but because of the sins it buries? Is the message a curse to intruders or a warning to the world? The deeper one digs, the less certain anything becomes. Is it riches? Is it revenge? Or is it history that is too dangerous to unearth? In our next segment, we turn to modern science and technology. What do today's archaeologists and geologists know about the tomb? What tools have they used, and what have they seen beneath the surface? And more importantly, why haven't they opened it? In an age when satellites map the ocean floor and robotic probes explore the surface of Mars, it's easy to assume that no mystery on Earth is truly beyond reach. And yet, in the heart of China, one ancient tomb remains sealed, guarded not by soldiers or walls, but by silence, fear, and a warning carved in stone. The message is simple: he who opens it shall die. But modern minds don't eat ancient curses, or do they? In recent decades, Chinese authorities and archaeological teams have indeed turned their eyes to the site, not with shovels or explosives, but with the full force of 21st century science. And what they've discovered has only deepened the mystery. Let's begin in the early 1970s, when a small team of geophysicists conducted the first comprehensive ground-penetrating radar, GPR, scan of the region surrounding Mount Lee, the same mountain where the famed Terracotta Army was unearthed. To their surprise, the radar signatures revealed something extraordinary: a massive subterranean structure, rectangular in shape, consistent with what ancient texts described as a deep soul palace, a royal tomb chamber buried beneath meters of earth and stone. More than that, the scan showed unusual anomalies, pockets of metallic density and strange fluid signatures that didn't match surrounding rock. Initial speculation suggested the presence of bronze artifacts or possibly flowing underground streams, but some researchers had another theory: liquid mercury. Yes, mercury. Ancient Chinese records, particularly those describing the legendary tomb of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, mention entire rivers and oceans of mercury constructed inside his mausoleum to mimic the geography of his empire. And mercury wasn't just ornamental. It was believed to possess immortality-enhancing properties. Ironically, prolonged exposure leads to madness and death. When soil samples were taken from areas surrounding the sealed tomb in question, they revealed abnormally high levels of mercury vapor, some nearly 100 times the normal concentration. A deadly deterrent? An environmental hazard? Or something else entirely? And that's not all. A team from the Chinese Academy of Sciences, using muon tomography, an imaging technique that tracks cosmic particles, detected voids within the structure that suggest hidden chambers, possibly multiple levels, some as deep as 30 meters underground. These were not natural caves. The precision of their symmetry was unmistakable. Someone had designed this place with purpose, intelligence, and incredible resources. Yet despite these revelations, authorities have refused to excavate. Why? The reasons are many, and each more compelling than the last. First, the structural integrity of the site is delicate. Opening the tomb could result in a collapse, destroying invaluable history. The chamber might be vacuum sealed or pressure sensitive, meaning the introduction of oxygen could cause irreversible damage to frescoes, scrolls, fabrics, or even mechanisms left within. Second, the presence of toxic materials, especially mercury, poses significant risks to both the environment and the archaeologists themselves. One misstep could release a deadly cloud of vapor, not just to those on site, but to surrounding ecosystems. But perhaps the most unspoken reason is cultural. In China, especially among the older generation of scholars and historians, ancestral reverence runs deep. There's a growing movement within the academic community that argues the dead should be left in peace, that tombs are not puzzles to be solved, but contract with the past that must be respected. Even the Chinese government, which oversees the National Cultural Heritage Administration, has expressed caution. In several official statements, they've emphasized a no-disturbance policy regarding imperial tombs, unless absolutely necessary. The consensus is clear. Some doors should not be opened just because we can, and yet interest in the tomb only grows. In 2017, a team of American researchers was invited to collaborate on a non-invasive study using remote sensing and digital mapping. Their report concluded that the structure's internal layout bore no resemblance to known tombs. Instead, it had a labyrinthine design, with corridors that appear to double back, spiral downward, and possibly even loop it on themselves, an architectural puzzle that would disorient anyone who entered. What purpose could such a design serve? Defense? Symbolism? Or something more esoteric? Perhaps a spiritual maze meant to trap the soul of an intruder? Despite the power of satellite sensors and scanning tech, The truth remains buried. The tomb has resisted intrusion, not because we lack the tools, but perhaps because we still fear the consequences. A curse may sound like superstition, but when science, tradition, and experience all advise caution, maybe it's worth listening. In our next segment, we turn our attention to the cultural lens. How do the people of China today, locals, monks, descendants of the imperial line, view the cursed tomb? What stories do they still tell? And what do they believe must never be forgotten? In the heart of modern China, among bustling cities and high-speed trains, there still exist villages where time seems to move differently. Here, near the base of the mountain rumored to hide the cursed tomb, elders speak in hushed tones of things best left buried. Their stories, passed from generation to generation, are the heartbeat of this mystery, and perhaps the key to understanding why the tomb has never been opened. In these villages, it is not uncommon to find red paper talismans nailed to doorways or incense burning in small stone altars. The spiritual world here is not a distant superstition. It is a daily reality. When asked about the tomb, locals refer to it not by name, but by euphemisms: the silent pit, the sleeping general, or the house of breathless winds. These titles are not poetic flair. They are a form of protection. Naming something directly, they believe, is the first step toward waking it. One elder, surnamed Joe, tells a chilling story. When I was a child, he says, a man from the next village came with a foreign scholar. They went up the hill to dig, just a little, not even deep. But that night, the man fell ill, screamed in his sleep, said someone was standing at the foot of his bed, watching. He died 3 days later. The foreigner left and never returned. Another story comes from a retired monk, Brother Liang, who once served at a nearby temple. We were told, he recalls, that the tomb was built not just to bury the dead, but to bind them, that whoever lies there was not allowed to pass into the next life. It is not a tomb, it is a prison, and prisons are not meant to be opened. These stories, while lacking scientific evidence, carry the weight of generational truth, beliefs so strong they have kept even the most curious villagers from venturing too close. For many in the region, the tomb is not history, it is present danger. Interestingly, these local legends often align with certain patterns seen in ancient Chinese spiritual beliefs. For example, the idea of a hungry ghost, a soul denied closure or peace, matches a narrative of a tomb that seals not only treasure but torment. The mention of a binding echoes Tao's rituals that trap malevolent spirits in physical objects, often buried underground, surrounded by protective symbols. In fact, archaeologists have uncovered such protective arrangements in other burial sites: jade amulets placed over the mouth and eyes of the deceased, iron nails driven into door frames, and walls painted with sigils of sealing. These weren't decorative. They were spiritual technology, designed to prevent what lay inside from escaping. Could the tomb's infamous warning, "He who opens it shall die," be more than just a threat? Could it be a ritual command, designed to prevent the violation of a sacred pact? Modern believers argue yes, and many of them actively oppose excavation efforts, not just for spiritual reasons, but out of fear that disturbing the tomb will trigger misfortune. They point to recent events: equipment malfunctions, sudden landslides, and the mysterious illnesses of researchers who've studied the area. Coincidence? Maybe, but in the shadow of an ancient curse, even coincidence feels like consequence. Perhaps even more compelling is the cultural shift within China's younger generation. While some urban youth see these legends as folklore, many have begun to reconnect with traditional beliefs. Through temples, online forums, and even virtual tours of haunted or sacred sites, the cursed tomb has become an object of both fear and fascination. TikTok and Weibo are filled with stories, speculative videos, and digital recreations of what the tomb might look like. In this new digital folklore, the ancient warning still resonates. It's not just a tomb, one young commenter writes. It's a line in the sand between what humans can do and what they should never try. And so, the mystery lives on, not just in stone and soil, but in memory, in imagination, and in the voices of those who remember. The tomb has never been opened not because it can't be, but because no one wants to be the one who breaks the silence. The living remember, even if the world forgets. In the eyes of the locals, that tomb is not a historical artifact. It is a warning etched in the bones of the earth. In our next segment, we travel further back, into the pages of ancient texts and lost chronicles. What do China's forgotten scrolls say about this place? And could those records hold the truth of why this tomb was cursed in the first place? Long before modern science, before the satellite scans and digital imaging, the only records of the cursed tomb came from ink and parchment, ancient Chinese texts, poems, royal archives, and oral traditions. Within these faded scrolls lie hints of a terrible secret, one that may explain why a tomb was hidden, sealed, and cursed with such fury. To uncover the roots of the mystery, we must step back more than 2,000 years to a time of warring states, ruthless dynasties, and emperors who believed themselves divine. Among the most enduring legends is one tied to the tomb's possible occupant, a prince exiled by heaven, condemned by his own bloodline, or perhaps a sorcerer warrior whose final wish was not peace, but vengeance. While the tomb itself remains nameless in official records, some scholars believe it corresponds to a figure known only in fragments, as the shadow son of the Qin dynasty. Who was the shadow son? According to the Bamboo Annals, an ancient chronicle rediscovered in the 3rd century, the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, had multiple sons. The youngest, referred to in obscure passages only as the child born at dusk, was said to possess unusual abilities, including prophetic dreams and an unsettling calm in the face of death. He was never named in official genealogies. Instead, his name was erased, or perhaps never recorded. One scroll refers to him as a child who saw the fire that was not lit, a poetic phrase interpreted by historians as referencing second sight or some form of spiritual connection. Court records from the era, translated by 20th century historian Liu Qijing, suggest the child was beloved and feared in equal measure. Some advisors warned the emperor that the boy's presence disturbed the harmony of the court, and that he should be hidden for the safety of the empire. He was sent away, not killed, but entombed in life. Could this be the man buried beneath the cursed tomb? In Taoist writings from the late Han Dynasty, a curious passage emerges in the records of the inner mysteries. It tells of a boy turned immortal who was sealed in the earth, surrounded by symbols of power and protected by a deadly barrier made of dragon's breath and silver fire. To the modern reader, these may seem like metaphors, but others believe these were literal defenses, mercury traps, mechanical mechanisms, and spiritual wards. The curse inscribed at the tomb's entrance, "He who opens it shall die," appears to echo another ancient saying, "The chain of heaven must not be broken. He who undoes the knot undoes the world." This phrase is found in oracle bones dating back to the Shang dynasty, used for divination. In context, it refers to sacred bindings, vows, or seals that, if broken, unleash chaos not just upon individuals, but upon entire kingdoms. Some scholars even theorize that the tomb wasn't built to honor a prince, but contained a curse itself, a containment chamber for a soul deemed too dangerous to reincarnate. The massive size of the underground complex, the mercury traps, and the rivers of stars mentioned in Han Dynasty poetry may all point to a ritual prison, not a resting place. Adding to the intrigue, a lesser-known account in the Chronicles of the Moon-Faced Monk, a manuscript banned during the Ming Dynasty for its heretical content, tells of a great dark chamber buried beneath the mountain where the sky weeps. In it is a man who does not age, wrapped in chains of jade, his eyes open and unblinking. Is this allegory or memory passed through symbolic language? Some believe these scattered texts were deliberately obscured, that the true identity of the tomb's occupant was erased from history. Whether out of shame, fear, or reverence, the result is the same, a complete blackout in official records. No imperial edict names this tomb. No grave inscription reveals the identity of the dead. Just a warning, sharp, final, and absolute. History may forget, but the earth remembers. And when language fails, curses speak loudest of all. In our next segment, we explore another disturbing possibility. Could the tomb be more than just a place of burial? Could it be a machine, a construct built with purpose, precision, and deadly consequences for any who dare disturb it? The ancient world was not ignorant. It was ingenious. Long before electricity or gunpowder transformed warfare, ancient China had already mastered complex mechanics, astronomy, hydraulics, and perhaps most chillingly, the engineering of death traps. Could the cursed tomb at the center of our mystery be more than a resting place? Could it, in fact, be a deliberately designed machine of death, a last act of vengeance from a forgotten age? If that sounds like fantasy, consider this. Chinese historical texts and archaeological evidence confirm the existence of booby-trapped tombs. Especially during the Qin and Han dynasties, emperors and nobles protected their remains not just with stone and secrecy, but with systems meant to maim, poison, or kill. The most famous example is the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor. Though its central chamber remains unopened to this day, early excavators found high concentrations of mercury in the soil surrounding the tomb. Ancient texts described rivers of mercury, designed to flow around the emperor's body, imitating the stars above. Whether symbolic or scientific, mercury is deadly toxic, capable of causing hallucinations, nerve damage, and death. Now imagine this technology used not for grandeur, but for guarding a secret. Scholars believe the cursed tomb may contain similar defenses. Ground-penetrating radar studies of similar sites have revealed mechanical crossbows aimed at the entrance shaft, triggered by pressure plates, false doors leading to bottomless pits or gas-sealed chambers, rotating stone slabs that close behind intruders, trapping them in utter darkness, and in the most elaborate designs, clockwork mechanisms that activate upon sunlight exposure, meaning the very act of opening the tomb could awaken the curse. Such deadly ingenuity is not fantasy. It is fact. Historian and military scholar Joseph Needham, in his monumental series Science and Civilization in China, document a range of ancient machines designed for precision movement, timing, and deterrence. So, what might lie within the cursed tomb? Some speculate it houses a central trigger, a mechanism that, once disturbed, releases mercury vapor, collapses tunnels, or unleashes buried fire traps. Others believe in the presence of spiritual locks, symbols etched in jade, obsidian, or bronze, whose placement must not be disturbed, or else risk releasing a dormant force. One theory, more controversial but increasingly popular, comes from engineer-turned-archaeologist Liang Wu, who argues that the tomb was designed to never be opened. In a 2015 paper titled Architectural Taboo, The Sealed Systems of Ancient China, he proposes that the structure uses an interlocking death system, a self-contained environment that destroys intruders and itself if breached. It's the architectural equivalent of a suicide note, he writes, built not to honor the dead, but to destroy the living. This radical theory aligns disturbingly well with the ominous inscription, "He who opens it shall die." But why such extremes? Why construct a fortress of death around a single individual? The answer, perhaps, lies not in the identity of the dead, but in what they took to the grave. Forbidden knowledge, cursed relics, a soul too dangerous to be reborn. Some legends suggest the tomb contains an elixir of immortality, rejected by the emperor who ordered the burial. Others speak of a book of shadows, a compendium of ancient rituals and curses, buried to protect the empire from itself. More eerie still are tales of artificial beings, bronze men powered by clockwork and mercury, placed as eternal guards inside the tomb's heart. Whether these are myth or misunderstood metaphor, they point to one chilling idea, that the tomb is not merely sealed, it is armed. Some doors were never meant to open. Some secrets were never meant to surface. And in ancient China, they didn't just bury their dead, they buried their warnings. In our next segment, we journey into modern times. Why, despite centuries of technological progress, has no one dared to open this tomb? What happened to those who tried? And what forces, political, cultural, or spiritual, keep the seal unbroken to this day? The cursed tomb we follow for centuries remains an enigma not just to historians and archaeologists, but to modern adventurers, men and women who risked life and limb, certain they could uncover its secrets, only to vanish, fail, or fall silent. For decades, the search for the tomb has captivated the imaginations of many, fueled by rumors, maps, and the dark allure of treasure. But with each new expedition, the same question arises: why does no one succeed? One of the most persistent myths surrounding the tomb involved a lost imperial map, a chart said to pinpoint the location of the cursed tomb with exact precision. According to some sources, the map was discovered in the late 19th century in a remote monastery in the Sichuan province, a place shrouded in secrecy, far from the prying eyes of the Empire. This map, etched in fading ink and accompanied by strange, cryptic notes, has driven countless expeditions. Archaeologist Wei Xian led one such expedition in 1923, hoping to be the first to reveal the tomb's treasures to the world. But what followed his attempt was not riches, but mystery. Wei's team was reported to have disappeared without a trace. Their camp was found abandoned, no bodies, no signs of a struggle, just strange markings in the soil. Local legend claimed that the team had wandered too far into mountains, into territory protected by the ancestors, a realm where the dead still lingered. But those who returned from the region speak of unseen forces, of a heavy, unnatural fog that rolled in suddenly, of whispers in the wind, and shadows that moved despite the absence of people. It was as though nature itself resisted the opening of the tomb. Was it coincidence, or something more sinister? Were the curse and the myth of the tomb simply a cultural safeguard, designed to protect its contents from discovery, or was there something more at play? Sound shift. The gentle breeze turns to something more sinister and unsettling, low hum like distant thunder. In the 1970s, a new wave of interest in the tomb's location emerged. A group of military-funded archaeologists launched an official investigation, claiming they had located the burial site using sophisticated mapping technology. The Chinese government, after years of silence, began allowing limited access to the site, an area now closed off to the public. What they found was less treasure and more mechanisms. Strange, ancient locks, hidden doors, and what appeared to be booby traps still functional after centuries of disuse. A report from one of the members of the team, General Chun Li, reveals that the team encountered a mechanical alarm system designed to trigger if any intruder attempted to breach the tomb. Chen's account, though never officially released, mentions that the team came across a jade plaque near the tomb entrance, engraved with a warning. To disturb the earth is to disturb the heavens. General Chen's final entry was cryptic. I have seen the shadows that guard this tomb. No mortal will lay claim to it. Shortly after, he disappeared. Last seen walking alone toward the tomb's entrance. His body was never recovered. Could the tomb be guarded by more than just physical barriers? Is there something more powerful, something ancient at work? A curse so deep, so intertwined with the tomb itself, that it reaches out at anyone who dares disturb it? In modern times, whispers of hidden forces continue to swirl around those who search for the tomb. Some say that modern explorers have encountered strange electrical interference near the tomb's location, rendering equipment useless, scrambling compasses, or even malfunctioning GPS devices. Others tell of sudden illness, headaches, or hallucinations that overtake explorers when they get too close to the site. Could these phenomena be caused by natural elements, like the toxic mercury used to preserve the tomb, or by something else entirely? A force beyond the reach of science? In the 21st century, where technology rules and the mysteries of the past are often solved with cold, calculated precision, this tomb remains an exception, a paradox that refuses to be cracked. Despite every attempt, it stands untouched, guarding its secret. But why does the tomb resist? The answer may lie in a deeper, more philosophical question. Is it truly a curse, or is it simply a reflection of the impossible nature of time, death, and the lengths humans go to preserve their legacy? The tomb's warning is clear. He who opens it shall die. But what does it mean to open something that is meant to remain closed forever? Perhaps, in a way, we all carry our own tombs, secrets, stories, and warnings we buried deep within ourselves, never meant to be unearthed. And perhaps, some things, no matter how badly we want to understand them, are better left undisturbed. In our final segment, we'll take one last look at the mystery of the curse. Is it truly something supernatural? Or is it a powerful message, one that transcends the physical tomb itself? As we approach the final stretch of this journey into the heart of one of China's most enduring mysteries, we are left with more questions than answers. The tomb, shrouded in myth and superstition, remains as elusive as it is deadly. Yet, in its evasion, it has revealed something far more profound than treasures or relics. It has revealed the limits of human curiosity, the boundaries between the known and the unknown. What is the true nature of the curse that surrounds this tomb? For centuries, it has kept adventurers, archaeologists, and even government officials at bay. Those who seek it often find themselves in the grip of forces they cannot explain, And more chillingly, those who get too close often meet strange, untimely ends. Is it the curse of death? Or is it something far more insidious? The curse of discovery? Some believe that the tomb's curse is not merely an ancient warning inscribed into stone or jade, but a psychological barrier, a fear ingrained in the mind of all who attempt to uncover the tomb's secrets. In some ways, the curse may not be a tangible force, but the human fear of what we might find if we go too deep into the past. The fear that once we uncover the truth, we can never return to innocence. The curse, then, might be a powerful metaphor for the irrevocable nature of knowledge. In the pursuit of uncovering hidden things, in the desire to claim the past as our own, we risk unleashing forces we are not equipped to handle. Time, after all, is not meant to be undone. And some things, perhaps, are meant to stay buried. Sound shift. The whisper fades into sound a heavy stone door creaking slowly shut, sealing the tomb once again. Historian Dr. Young Jean, who spent decades studying this phenomenon, wrote that the true curse is not the tomb itself, but the obsession with it. In his 2009 book, The Price of Immortality, he posits that the Chinese emperors and nobles of old didn't simply bury treasure. They buried warnings. Warnings about the human condition, about the nature of power, greed, and ambition. Some tombs, he writes, are meant not just to hold the dead, but to remind the living of their fragility. In our modern world, where the line between myth and reality often blurs, we are left to wonder whether the curse of this ancient tomb is truly supernatural, or if it is perhaps the echo of a deeper human truth. Could it be that the tomb itself was never meant to be open at all? That its true purpose was never to hold wealth or artifacts, but to protect humanity from itself? The treasures, the ancient texts, the relics, they pale in comparison to the larger message this tomb carries, that some knowledge, some power, is too dangerous to unleash. As we close this chapter, the tomb still stands, cloaked in mystery and legend. Perhaps it always will. But it has left us with something invaluable, an understanding of the delicate balance between knowledge and power. And perhaps, most importantly, the reminder that some mysteries are better left unsolved. In the end, the true curse of the tomb is not its contents, nor the doom that awaits those who seek it. The curse lies in a relentless pursuit of what lies beneath the surface, a pursuit that, for some, becomes an obsession, a desire to possess, to uncover, to control what was never meant to be controlled. And so, the tomb stands, silently waiting. Its secret, as deep and as unknowable as time itself, continues to guard the most dangerous treasure of all, the wisdom of restraint. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on more chilling stories and unsolved mysteries from the Crypt Stories. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you believe happened in the cursed tomb? Was it a supernatural force or simply a legend? Let us know your theories.